And we're back for episode 15 of the Natty Bodybuilding Radio with myself, Bob Waterhouse 86. I can't stop doing it. My name's Robert Waterhouse, not Bob.
No.
So you're joined with me and my co-host.
Also, not actually called Ron or Aeronn, or Aaron. Or Aeronn, but actually Aeronn Bevan.
Aeronn? That's new. I've not heard like Air Jordan, like Aeronn.
Yeah, used to have the creepy guy who used to come in to do the school pictures every year. Used to call me Aeronn Cupboard.
Yeah. What dick?
Total dick. Like I was like 12-year-old, absolutely devastated with my name, and that's what I got. So I'm lucky. Yeah, it's all smart.
Hunt him down and burn his house down. Just saying.
Yeah.
So I need your thoughts.
Yeah, go on.
Decaf coffee on prep.
Well, I see why you might be choosing to do that at 5 to 9. Because anyone who's seen the Heisenberg pre-workout setup before would know that there was enough caffeine to kill a small horse.
A mule. Good.
Yeah.
Good on the same lines. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
good. Because I found this out. So, lo and behold, to me, I guess would be the word. I've had my coffee machine for about 6 years.
Yeah.
And I've only found out this week there's a setting on there where you can turn it to like filtered ground coffee instead of using the beans.
Yeah.
So I was absolutely amazed at that. I was like, all this time where people have bought me coffee for Christmas and bought me coffee, and I've gone straight in the bin.
Yeah.
His mum. I have found this setting because I myself stupidly ordered 6 bags of coffee off Amazon for a really good price. For whatever reason, if you have your coffee ground, it seems to be about 15 quid cheaper a bag for some reason.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, instead of throwing them 6 bags away or having to return them to Amazon, I realized that there was a feature on my coffee machine that would do this. And as a result, you can only make 1 cup at a time. So you can't have like a pot of Joe and then just like when you want, you have to make 1 cup at a time. But for decaf coffee, which is the point of this story, it's great because I can have my regular caffeine beans in there and then I can just go and put a scoop in, and the machine does come with a built-in scoop. So
what's your caffeine cutoff for optimal sleep?
I'm just going to say 8 o'clock because I'm obviously a real bodybuilder now and I go to bed on time.
Yeah.
Sort of. But so I have found that when I've had the other week, I'd had gone out for a later walk in the evening and was struggling, to be fair. So I thought I'll have an extra big dose of caffeine, and then I didn't get to sleep till 3 o'clock in the morning, and therefore like basically wounded me for about 2 days afterwards. So
see, I'm that guy that can definitely have a double espresso and then go bed.
Yeah, but I used to be. So prep's killing me off. It's making me more caffeine sensitive.
Dan North's cut off for caffeine is 9 in the morning.
So that's definitely. I was gonna say it's not PC, but that's definitely on the line of homosexual. So
that's fine.
Homosexual.
We've referred to so many things as gay on this podcast. We're well past that.
How do you stop though? Like the word gay, I've been using since I was like probably 9.
Yeah.
And it's one of them words that it's just like, oh, that's wild gay.
Yeah.
Not I'd say anymore. So if anyone watching who's gay, there's nothing wrong with being gay. It's just you're going to be ridiculed anyway. So.
And we're still going to say it. So it doesn't matter. So that's Dan North, who can't take a pre-workout without being sick, and myself, Edgy, and I realised that has never finished a workout without having to go to the bathroom to be sick. So shout out to Dan.
Is it always that he's? Come on, give me the top Dan's top 3 excuses of why he was sick during his workout.
Mostly it's pre-workout.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe someone is eating a bit soon.
Yeah, eating too close to the workout, that's always a classic.
Yeah. Whereas today, which just brings us on to the epic chest session, you ate a bowl of, still pumped. You ate a bowl of eggs, salmon and oats, all in the same bowl.
Yep.
So plenty of stuff that would make the average man maybe be sick.
And good breath for spotting as well.
Yes.
All the fish.
I didn't notice that. And then not 30 minutes later, doing the optimal Heisenberg pre-workout, and then the optimal Heisenberg intra, and not a sign of being sick. So
if anything, it just made me better. I remember going back in the day when I used to train it. Sorry. Darren's gym.
Hi, Daz.
Hi, Darren. At Feel Good Fitness in Abingdon. Yeah. I used to sometimes be rushing back to go and train in the evening with my mate and had no food prepared other than a lightly smoked salmon fillet, the pre-ready-made ones. And the only source of carbohydrates I could fathom was a banana. So my pre-workout meal was a banana and a coffee and a piece of salmon. And I just ate it with my fingers in the car on the way to the gym. My mate was like, "Are you serious?" And then that fish was just repeating on me the whole time during my workout. He was like, "Have you seriously done that?" I was like, "Yeah, it probably wasn't the best choice, but it was either that or not eat." So,
but could you argue that smoked salmon and a banana is the absolute optimal best pre-workout meal of all time? Because you've got all your carbs, all the potassium, then you've got all your protein and fats and salt.
Yeah. No wonder I'm still jacked to this day. Really?
Jacked off eating salmon and bananas.
Crazy.
Yeah. So today's workout was great.
Was good. Was very good. It's nice when you have a good session, but when you have a great session, is definitely it ticks boxes, doesn't it? You feel superhuman after one of those sort of chest pumps.
Yeah. So we did bench press for about an hour and a half. Then got on the floor and did dumbbell press. And then...
Only because Flex Lewis.
Yeah. Cheers. Shout out to my best friend, Flex Lewis.
Made those popular again. So
yeah. Yeah, good. So for anyone that hasn't seen the post where I out-angle everybody, just with pure...
I knew this was coming. I thought...
Pure
get it right.
width and depth. I'm basically also wearing Sean Clarida's t-shirt. We did, what did we do? We did incline bench press, father press. Then we did pin press.
Incline press.
Low incline. Okay.
Then we did a pin press flat.
Yes.
Then we did a
big rep out flat.
Flat bench press without the pins in.
Yes.
This is 3 to 4 sets of each, apart from that one where we just did one set, which was a triple drop set.
That was brutal, actually.
8 to 10 on the reps, heavy you can. The negative, you missed those out on the flat press where you nearly killed me on the third rep.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Tried to kill me, but that's not my destiny. So.
Yeah. That's because it's the most difficult thing to gauge of all time is a negative on somebody. And a negative on a barbell above someone's face, pushing it down is the most counterintuitive thing of all time. So
where I caught you out is that on the second rep, you basically had to sit on the bar to get it to me because I'm so strong.
That's so strong.
And then third rep, you thought that was coming again and I had nothing. And then it basically nearly squashed me in the face. So.
Yeah, unlucky.
Obviously, just moved on from that.
Yeah.
Session. So very good.
Yeah, it was good.
And then the hardcore presses of all time with a red band.
Yeah, they were good. Can't wait till we're doing them with the green band.
Yeah, in each hand.
So that's quality and a little bit of pausing then for you two. So that was good. That would be Chris Edge and yourself.
Before we get to that, do you actually know what them green bands are in actual poundage of resistance.
Not a clue.
So apparently it's supposed to be up to 60 kilos at the top of the band.
Right.
Which is pretty impressive, really, for what is essentially a piece of rubber.
Yeah. I think we spoke about it before, and maybe we'll get onto it on the topic of today's podcast. But we definitely, through having to use some bands and some of the stuff that we've done training in the Hobbit Hole, just to make things a bit harder and a bit more intense because we've got less equipment, we'll look at how to utilise bands more in training. Just don't want to do. Just what pisses me off is when you see someone spending an hour setting up a leg press or something, or a hat squat, and you think, it's just a waste of time. But yeah, some
things are, like purposely built with little band attachments, and that's great because purposely done. But when you've got someone who's like, having to, like I am at home, have to spend a week putting dumbbells on the floor, getting exactly the right angle of resistance to get anything out of the movement, then that's when it sucks and just takes away from the workout, where you just put another pin on. So
yeah. I had naturally more resistance on the bands as well today because we put them around the back and because of the circumference.
Oh yeah, I had no bands left, did you, at the end?
Oh man,
back so wide.
Yeah, so shout out again, Dan North, the most popular person on this podcast at the moment, messaged me, and he messaged his significant other and said, "Wow, Aeronn's so big," and she just replied, "Fat?" And I said, "Yes, both." He meant chest to back thickness, and not being a bodybuilder. Louina Howe herself didn't know what the hell he meant, but both of them not wrong, so fine.
Wow, pure abuse. I'd like you to just go trolling one of her pictures this week. Just go, just like short much.
Yeah.
Like, just for jokes, pure bad.
Yeah, definitely.
For anyone else who wants to know, that Dan North is short, and apparently his missus is even shorter, which I haven't done the
spirit level
to decide whether she's tall or not yet, but I'm sure.
It's been a while, right? It's been a while since the spirit level has been out.
So I'm sure I'll have to. Spirit level never lies.
It doesn't lie.
Never lies. So props this week. Just wanted to show you my Avengers Cup, which is all the way from Australia, and I bought this when Endgame came out, and you got a free little Thanos head with it, which I don't know where it is, but obviously it's like a litre and a half.
Very nice.
So I don't need any optimal cool shakers tonight because Claire has made me the grind in this.
So I have knockoff metal shaker that I purchased from warprep.com. It's off Amazon, and I googled cheap metal shaker, and this is what came up, so that's fine. Okay.
Does it leak?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
All the food is down, all the drink is down my chin as I'm drinking it, and it looks like I've done a wee. So shout out to warprep.com for having rubbish shakers. But I'm all about the glass, Tupperware and metal shakers now, as I've been intermittently. But making the effort to be having sense.
If you're going to use your glass Tupperware, you can't heat it up with the plastic lid on because that defeats the object.
Yes, and I'm aware. Yes.
You're such a scientist. You already know this stuff. So I just need to quick shout out.
Yeah.
Because obviously, as much as I have the most annoying clients in the world,
yes, you do.
You may have heard behind closed doors sometimes. The actual bodybuilders themselves are always very, very good. It's always the general population people who cause me the most. Yeah. Just to put it into perspective.
In Gen Pop.
General population this week versus bodybuilder. Bodybuilder has cheated on his diet this week with an extra 4 rice cakes. Okay. And other person has had like 8 pints or a night out on the lash because the pub opened.
Yeah.
And fry up, right? Okay, so it's like, right, well, can't really compare the two, so that's just what I'm dealing with here. Nothing wrong, obviously, wrong with a bit of balance, but someone who's supposed to be on a mini cut and then they have 8 pints of the fry up, not really a compromise. Okay,
Nope.
But having the best clients in the world, Chris Edge. Not sure if you went to this Olympia. You might have done, but it was a time me and Jay Cutler.
Well, that's weird because
just to do the abs and thigh pose.
Oh yes.
So everyone can see that. That's me and Jay Cutler there. So thanks, Chris Edge. Obviously, you can see the optimal selfie light in the reflection. So the time where that obviously I was both taken by Fivos, by the way.
Yeah. So
you could make the argument that it actually happened because both were taken by the same person. So shout out to Show Shoots. And what did you say today? Fivos has mixed a trick because he hasn't called his
fifth shots.
What was it?
Fifth shots.
Fifth shots. It wasn't. It was way better than that when you said it earlier.
No. Yeah, I completely forgot it then. Fifthography.
15. See how much better is that? Fifthography. So Show Shoots, we'll give you a shout out for that. So if you want to change your name to that, Fivos, please email. It'll only take 3/5 commish.
Yes, that's all.
Yeah.
But that was quality. That picture's great from Chris. He told me about it a few weeks back, and he was desperate to give it to you. And yeah, I just think it's quality. That time you blasted Jay on stage at the Olympia with your ab and thigh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Making Jay look all blocky.
Exactly. The problem is now, which I face, is where can I hang it in the house? Where I feel like bodybuilding is also taken over the house. So yeah, it may have to be on my little corner of the room that I have, the corner of the house.
The sword corner.
Yeah, with my whiskey cabinet and trophies and sword and salt lamp, all the combination of stuff. I would do whiskey decanter, cigar paraphernalia.
Can eventually go. Are we on? Is it the cigar segment?
Oh, yeah. No, it isn't this week because there's been no sun, which means I've not had a cigar this week.
Okay.
So because on prep, it is pretty optimal.
Yeah.
So.
I imagine. Also, like today, how you were talking about your man cave that you're going to develop, pre actually deciding to buy a house or anything. So it's come in an order of man cave.
Oh, sugar! My door is nearly blown.
Live Stormwatch live on Natty Muscle Radio.
Somehow. Wow. Okay. That could have ended in disaster. That literally could have come off the hinges because we've got hurricane outside, whatever that is. So right there. Did we get the right cushions in the background? Or was it the old ones?
Oh, I don't know. Claire's going to kill you.
Oh, no. We've exposed the old cushion again.
Oh, my God.
So hopefully Claire will fast forward that bit. We'll cut it out, put a meme over the top.
That's fine. So no cigar segment. That's sad. I'm a bit sad about that. But I'm keen to plug again upcoming possibility of bodybuilding goggle box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very low budget. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But what I mean by that is like, how many different DVDs and stuff can we watch and really comment on? I mean, we've got a lot of ones to look at. It's just like it's going to be very much the same. Oh, he looks jacked. Hey, this one.
Yeah. So
for anyone who doesn't know what bodybuilding goggle box is that we'll get a group of us actual bodybuilders, not the guys who bodybuild but don't like bodybuilding, in the room, and then basically record ourselves talking about watching bodybuilding.
Yes.
So,
that's a good step. It's going to be a hard sell that to anybody that.
It will be. but I think that I do have some old show DVDs from the BNBF from like 2008 and things like that, which would be quite a good. They'd be like, oh yeah, do you remember that guy? I was like, oh yeah, I remember that guy.
That'd be good.
So I'm really sorry in advance, and I'm going to drop you in it.
Oh no.
But it's that time for segment of the week.
Da-da-da.
And I just wanted to know how your mini cut's going.
It's not going anymore.
Oh, right. Okay, let me just get comfortable. Let me listen to this excuse. Because I think what I said last time was, stop messing around and let's get this mini cut done.
Yes.
All right. Did
That's
I say
exactly
that
what.
last time?
So Darren. First, righteous Darren. Here he is. Back again. So I had been piss fighting. Well, no. The idea was to do some kind of mini cut, and actually down total of 4.5 kilos. So I guess best part of sort of over £9. That'll be something around 9.5, maybe something. Mm-hmm. So not insignificant. But after Darren got hold of me a couple of weeks back now and said, "Why are you still fat?" Sorry, I'm talking about Darren like he's not here on the screen. after you got in touch with me and asked why I wasn't, pushing the mini cut. I come up with loads of excuses. So then we decided to push it a bit harder, and a week later, I decided this is some bullshit, and I don't want to do this.
Okay. Darren.
So, on a serious note, it brings us back to, it might have been not last week's podcast, but a few podcasts back when we were talking about when you should decide to compete. Yeah, we did a podcast about that, didn't we? And that certainly for me and you to actually say I'm going to diet now, like really diet, you have to be in it. And very quickly after a week, I was not in it. I did not want to be doing it.
Good.
I was snappy. I felt a bit shit, and I actually felt a little bit anxious of, oh, hang on a minute. I feel very much like I did last year when I spent the best part of a year prepping. I didn't want any of that, so I brought my food back up. I lost weight that week, actually. Lost 0.5 kilo when I brought my food back up. What I will be doing, before you jump in, Darren, is I will just not be eating shit. So I will be pushing my food in the off-season now, but clean and tracking and all that, and just having a cheat meal weekly. And just doing that really until sort of springtime next year.
What's going to be the go-to cheat meals? Because I'm dying. I always ask people what they're having for dinner and that.
Yes.
But what are we talking? 5 guys or?
Well, you've seen Ron's Burgers. Yeah, Ron's Burgers are the order of the day at the moment. Primarily because restaurants not being open and stuff. But we like doing it anyway. We don't have to go out and see people. We'll do a 5 guys in a couple of weeks. But definitely finding that doing it this way now, keeping weight kind of not ballooning up from where it is, sort of like 86 at the moment, and just letting it go up naturally and down throughout the week with clean food, lots of calories, and push that. What I want to do is when I do the mini cut, it will be the season before I compete again, which won't be next year. Earliest on stage again will be 2022. So let's say, for example, then I would enlist the help of Coach DSL again and get him to actually do the mini cut for me, so I don't piss fat around and we get it done. But for now,
Darren,
continue to out-angle people dieting in pictures. So
yeah, and I did put up. Well, I didn't put it up. I just sent you a wicked picture.
Yes, I remember where it's from.
Me and you helping out backstage at the Northern?
No, it wasn't at the Northern. Famously didn't make it to the Northern.
Okay.
One of the shows.
One of the BNBF shows. And I'm dangling a, how should we say, anabolic large size, one of the 10p cola bottle sweets.
Yes.
Not the measly 1p ones, the 10p big ones.
Yeah.
And you're just in between my arm and shoulder there with your little skinny face.
Yes.
No beard. And I'm with a massive meathead.
So we're gonna retake that photo this year with your horrific diet face and my massive moon head. And
I'd like to hide in the background behind your arm and shoulder, if that's all right, with my skin.
You can try.
We can make it happen for sure. So that made me chuckle, actually, which is good. So we're about recreating these moments. So very good. So don't feel guilty for not doing a mini cut because you're not really team mini cut anyway, are you?
No, and I say it's not. Like, I did want to do it, and I'm happy that when the lockdown hit and I had the bad injury, I just cleaned everything up anyway, and as I said, come down from 91 to 86 now. So not insignificant, but not the kind of I'd like to double that really on a real harsh mini cut. But I only realised I want to do it when it's getting ready to get back on stage again. Mm-hmm. So I'll do it when the following year I'll be looking at actually prepping, which isn't next year. So
I've got a two-part question for you then. So what is your optimal weight and where you like to sit, where you look decent and still feel decent, and where part 2B, where does Cara like you to be weight-wise and all those kind of things?
I think Cara prefers the personality of 91 kilo Ron.
Okay. Yeah.
And
for a Ron burger, yeah.
Yeah, would love a Ron burger. But,
rugby player look.
Rugby player look.
Okay. Yeah.
Any rugby players out there? Then you know that's the kind of look. Yeah. But for me, it's funny because it's changed, and it's one of them. I think you have to actually realise that if you're going to try and make gains in the off season, if you're going to actively try and eat to grow, then actually your set points when you say, okay, well, I'm going to diet, I'm going to get to this weight, that's going to change. You're not going to be the same weight. So,
you must have where you're coming down or going back up, where you're like, if I could just look like this all the time, I'd be well happy.
Oh, 10 kilos of stage weight.
Yeah,
if I could be 10 kilos, if I could be 75 for all the time, then yeah, that'd look wicked. But nah.
You know me, bruv. So
it's got to look massive in your Sean Clarida Gasp t-shirts, but it definitely changed because as we spoke about the other week, is I'm big and round and fat now, but I look like a bodybuilder. So at 86, the heaviest I got in my previous off season was 83, and I looked well worse than I do now. So there's been some change. There's been significant change. So we'll see. We'll see next time we're 80. Maybe.
Test the back thickness.
Yeah. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I won't make lights.
Oh yeah, you might not. Said no one ever.
Said nobody ever at 5'2". Like sneak in at the top end.
Yeah, it's one of them things. I mean, when we talk about scale weight, I know a few people have put up posts and stuff about it, but it's kind of, I think it's the realization for me. I think that like the only time I made a massive jump in scale weight on stage was when I changed from a low carb to being over diet to a high carb diet. And we're talking nearly 12 pounds of stage weight, which is ridiculous because I think that if you are optimizing everything, let's put it this way, I will be taking my hat off to anyone who is doing all of those things right and maybe not over dieted, so like they brought a really good stage look. who come back like even 5 pounds heavier, like with a year or two off season. Like, you know, actually, like in the same condition, not like, okay, they were more shredded here and now they're still in condition, but not good enough condition where they still need to lose 5 pounds to be ready to win a show. And we're not just talking glutes and hams contests, as we've talked about before. But so, yeah, I will be on the lookout for sure for people who have maybe spoke about it and things like that, because there is definitely, that's been a discussion of late, hasn't it, really? And I will be intrigued. And I said, I'm definitely not one of those people who says, you can't do that, because people may have, you know, found better ways to optimize their off season and better when taking time away and made some really good muscle improvements. But as a natural, to actually get like scale weight in the same condition on stage is very tough. And as I said, I'm talking from someone with experience of, you know, when I went from, let's say, 2009 to 2013 of taking time away and then over dieting to get the show. We're talking 12 pounds, but it's not a real 12 pounds of muscle. It's just not over dieting, and it's not actually dieting on any carbs. So it's like, you know, much muscle I actually put on.
Yeah, but take a pound of meat out of your fridge and slap it on the table, okay? And then choose where you'd like to distribute that on your body in terms of muscle.
All arms.
All arms. Tell me that wouldn't be a significant increase to your physique. Do you know, like a pound of meat?
Yeah.
You know,
like beef mince, and then like taking a little, like flatten all that and taking a strip away and then putting it on.
You're taking the piss, but
Why
it's
don't
true.
we do it? Why don't we do it? Let's go buy like 4 packs of mince.
All right.
4 pounds of muscle, and then we'll cover me from top to toe in posing trunks. And then we'll see what that actually looks like on the frame.
Can we not? Let's buy really cheap minute steak.
Yeah.
Or bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right about the carb thing as well, because what's interesting for me is, bear in mind, this is the actual first off season where I've done a high carb diet. So my previous off season, we're still with Johnston, I was actually on the carbs I was on was actually less than what I prepped on last year. Yeah. So that might also be where the higher weight is coming from now, but also looking better, because actually there's just more carbs than there's ever been in this sort of phase. So I would attest to that, definitely, that switch from low carb to high carb. I've seen a weight increase, not on stage yet, but in the off season. So
yeah, and I said, like, you know, just wanted to finish on, this isn't me being a dick. This is I will genuinely be impressed if someone does that, because that shows me that, like, then maybe I would need to not get as fat in the off season, and maybe it means then, you know, I don't know, like, doing things even more like you would have prep in an off season to get. I mean, as I said, it's how much of a response would be like, okay, right, you can make the argument one way or another, like you might have one extra pound, whatever, if that makes sense. But so it's not me being like defeatist. It's just every fucking year I'm getting lighter. It's like how
you don't look it. You don't look it either.
Yeah.
You know.
So it'll be interesting to see it. I always think you do forget just how, like, you know, I posed for you and Chris today.
Yeah.
And when you look at yourself, sometimes you can be thinking that you're coming along all right, and you could take a bathroom mirror selfie, and then all of a sudden, like, shit, I've got a lot of work to do still. And that's the real realization of, like, wow, that I do really need to be like another 14, 15, 16 pounds lighter still to be in really good shape. Even though, as I said, I'm like at optimal walk around weight, like you look on the beach, but not in show condition.
No. I remember there's a junior I'm good friends with who competed, would have been, it was a couple of years ago now. Eh?
Not down north.
Junior? No.
Oh, no, sorry, just really short. So I just thought he was...
Unlucky.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, lucky. No, Junior I'm good friends with, and has done well in both BNBF and UK DFBA. And last time he competed, he placed. He wasn't happy with his placing at UK DFBA finals. He well, not happy. He just didn't place as high as he would like to, but it was fair. He placed where he should have, and he came and asked Darren and myself, what do I need to do from here? And Darren.
Yes, what did I say?
Darren said to him, you probably need to lose £10. This is the guy who just competed at, it wasn't finals, so I think it was Heart of England. Between now and finals, you need to lose £10. And the poor guy's face dropped because it wasn't conceivable to him that the condition that he was in, he just competed, for goodness sake, and he still had another 5 kilos to come off. So you're right. It's you kind of forget, I think, the amount of weight that you have to lose. So, cheers, Darren.
Cheers, Darren. See you next week.
See you next week.
Very good. Very good. Right then. What are we talking about this week?
Yes. So I guess segue into what we've almost been touching on a little bit. But I wanted to talk about this week, and it was when I messaged you about it. It was because I'd listened to that Patrick Tour podcast that you told me about allegedly, and I ignored.
For anyone who wants to know, yes, this is week number 1 out of 15 that Aeronn has come up with the topic for the podcast.
I can't be the funny one and the one that comes up with I can't do it both. Like, come on. It's meant to be 50-50 here. So it's 100% me, this podcast. So when it gets all the views, then so I was listening to Patrick Tour, I think he's French Canadian, so I'm not going to try and do it. Talking to Fuad Abiad about why all his guys are so jacked. And Fuad's responses are brilliant. A Real Bodybuilding podcast, if you've not listened to it, is great with Fuad Abiad. He does bodybuilding and bollocks as well. Now with Guy Sistanino, Ben Chow. It's great, lots of good information. It's just good banter as well. But he could not conceivably believe that Patrick Tour was saying that the reason why these guys are so shredded and jacked in the off season is because he hasn't doing all the carbs and low protein. And honestly, and it's not that Fuad was being like, oh, I don't believe you kind of thing. He was like, I'm looking at the pictures of your guys and they look incredible. They look how I want to look. But I cannot get it into my head that after competing for as many years as he has done, that you're now going to tell me to not do 12 ounces of protein and do 6.
Yeah, bearing in mind, Fuad is one of them guys who's like, I made my best gains when I was eating 600 grams of protein.
Yeah, right. So what I'm getting at is that what I wanted to talk about was different methodologies, whether that be nutrition and training. And we can talk maybe a little bit about ones that we've tried, things that we think work and don't work, both the train nutrition. But I wanted to kind of underpin it with why people get so attached to a method. And I have done. I don't know if you have done, and I know people who also have said that they believe entirely in another wet method and they won't try anything else. And anyone dare speak badly about the method of training or dieting or whatever, and kind of just maybe speak a bit about why we think that's the case.
So where should we kick this off? Should we kick this off with training or nutrition?
Let's go with nutrition, I think, because that's what kind of sparked it for me a little bit.
Okay, definitely. So, points to raise then. So, nutrition-wise then. So, I guess we need to kind of lay out, first of all. So, you've got the bro dieters, for a start, versus opposite end of if it fits your macros, I guess. Okay. Yeah. And how bro diet is boring. If it fits your macros, you can eat Pop-Tarts to get shredded type analysis, right? As you said, there's, these are, let's say, ends of the spectrum. And, I would say that I maybe fall, if this is the middle, probably a bit more this way.
Yeah.
I'm open to suggestions this way, but most of the time, he said we're talking about people who say you don't need to eat chicken, brown rice, and broccoli at all, and these people are saying you can't fucking eat, anything that isn't chicken and brown rice on a diet to basically get in shape. And so I guess the attachment with it, really is one. I mean, that's going to be sparked off from maybe the results of how you've done things for a start.
Yeah.
So there's one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you how you kind of what direction you want to take it with it. But I know I've got lots of stuff on training, but as far as the nutrition side,
yeah, okay. Well, I'll talk about nutrition then, and you can pick up the training bit.
Yeah.
And they're one and the same. They kind of lend to each other. But I find with the nutrition thing, at least, you get overcomplicating and over science, and a study suggests this, a study suggests that. Now, we've spoke about time and time again, outside of bodybuilding, I work in science, so I know what a study suggests. I know what it can mean. What?
Why aren't you wearing glasses?
Sorry.
So
I put my fake glasses in my eye. So I know what it means, but I feel that people hold on too dearly to, they'll read something and take it for absolute fact. A lot of people don't know how to. That term a study suggests can be very dangerous, because a study can suggest that you do one thing, but actually if you read any into it, you'll see that the cohort was a bunch of 5 lab rats, and attached, or a bird that had a weight attached to its wing, or something like this, or untrained individuals, even if we're going to go into actual human trial. But if a study suggests it, then that's it. It's absolute gospel.
Without going off on a tangent, this is the whole reason why saturated fat got absolutely scrutinized for years and years and years and years, because the guy who did saturated fat study basically took 15 countries and basically said, I think that saturated fat is like making people really, really fat. So he got all the results in from his 15 countries and went, oh, fuck, only 5 of these support my theory. Because people from Italy or whatever who are in the training diets or loads and loads of fat in their diet were miles healthier and leaner than other people. And they basically took these 5 countries and went, well, these support my theory, so that's the results. And everyone then went, oh, don't eat fats for the rest of your life. And then it isn't until we become more educated now to look into those studies and things like that, where they went, yeah, but you're feeding saturated fats to rats for a start, as you said, and like all the rats got fat. Well, they don't really eat saturated fat really in the diets anyway.
Right.
Like, basically what the point was is like cherry picking results or taking stuff from a study to support what you want to believe is not the way to do it.
You get supplement companies do it a lot. Anyone that's read MD will see the 15-page spreads of some absolute bullshit supplement that's got graphs. Like a graphs are great. I like a good graph on this podcast as well. And your graph will be
y-axis, x-axis.
Yeah. So it's like supplement here, muscle. The more you take.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exponential muscle growth.
Oh, you want that? Yeah. You get the full curve, and people get suckered into it quite a lot. So that's one thing with supplements, and that's just a marketing thing really as well. I guess you get it in pharmaceuticals, but when you're talking about the if it fits your macros then and the bro dieting, it's not it I'm like yourself then, and I sit in the leaning towards bro, and maybe it's just because we're true bodybuilders, and that we enjoy our Sunday mornings watching Battle for the Olympia. Maybe it's that.
Salmon and oats all in the same bowl.
Yeah. Or chicken, or potato and tatties. Potato and beef for breakfast. But rather that sometimes in bodybuilding, you just need that anecdotal, you need that on the front line sort of experience from, it's not saying that you can't just eat these things and reduce calories and therefore you'll be in a deficit and you'll lose weight. It's at the nitty gritty at the end. Are those foods the best foods for you to be dieting with?
Yeah.
So that can come into
That's my main bugbear with if it fits the macro.
So that can come into a whole range of things. As for me, if I could choose to eat something very, very small and calorie dense, or a huge bowl of oats when I'm a prep, well, it's going to be the bowl of oats because it's going to fill me up more. Yeah. There's that. So there's adherence to the diet and things like that. Yeah. And then whether you want to really talk whether there's truth in micronutrients and things like that, and just the appearance of a physique when it's not eating things like
like the best return on your digestion, the best return on your training performance. Like, unfortunately, when it comes to dieting and bodybuilding, as we all have to remember, the important information, or how should we say, the important message from Kerry Napier was that this isn't Weight Watchers.
Right.
So we are not looking just to lose the most amount of weight into a show. This is competitive bodybuilding. So therefore, unfortunately, maybe eating a very high volume, low fat, like let's say portion of rice, for example, and that being like that, and then chicken, lean beef, that kind of stuff, as opposed to eating 2 Pop-Tarts and a donut. Yes, it might both be 2,000 calories, but there's also a lot of other things that you have to consider to do that. And I think that with something like if it fits your macros, the further along you get to do, if you've only got 15 to 1,700 calories left in your diet, you're not going to use them up on, as you said, unsatisfying calorie dense foods, because that's not going to satisfy you from doing that. So without going off on a tangent on that.
No, but I mean, that's kind of discussing, what each element is. But then the real question is what I wanted to touch on is why, and I find it's more towards the if it fits your macros group of people. I've seen people, I've seen guys a particular guy competes in natural bodybuilding, or has done, who set up an entire business talking about how the absolute best way is to do it if it fits your macros, and every other way is wrong. Is why people and like I say, it tends to be more to that side, the extreme side, a study suggests side, why that's the only way, and why everybody else's way is wrong.
Yeah, you're mad if you want to eat chicken and rice.
Yeah,
like because it's boring.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and because the study suggests that you can do it eating Pop-Tarts, and doing it the other way is wrong. But if you ask the guys at the Grand Prix this year which way they did it, you ask guys at WNBF Worlds, DFAC Worlds, whatever. Yeah,
that's also the flawed argument of anyone who does if it fits your macros. They say, oh, well, you can't just say because Phil Heath doesn't do it, that doesn't work. It's like, yes, but all these professional athletes at the very top of their game are all choosing to do it this certain way because, for whatever reason, but their always argument is like, oh, you can't just pick the best top 10 bodybuilders in the world and use that as an example. It's like, well, it's a pretty good example, if I'm honest.
It's not a good example for that group of people because it doesn't suit them, much like the saturated fat thing that you just said. So there's that. But then I guess there's with what that Patrick Tour podcast sparked for me was the high carb, low carb sort of thing. And I've done keto for a long time, not actual keto, just a low carb diet. So when I do, not like I wasn't like checking if I was in ketosis and all this sort of stuff. But I did a low carb diet, and it got me in. And this is probably the best example actually, because it got me in very, very good shape in 2017. When I look back at those pictures, I've got feathered quads and head to toe I'm in shape, but I look like from 2017 to 2019, I look like I've eaten myself and grown that amount of muscle. So the 2019 version looks like it's eaten the 2017 and grown that much more muscle. And I think I was a kilo heavier.
Yeah.
You know, that was the difference.
It's that kind of thing where, you know, like he's talking about in specific with that podcast. The best example I can give was 2010, Mark Claxton winning his pro card that year. And I tanned him up outside the Welsh. He brought no one along. He just basically did the show on a whim and came along to the show and needed someone to tan him up backstage. And obviously I was, you know, one of the BNBF bros by that time, competing with them for a couple of years. And I tanned him up and I was like, it's fucking well off. Like, he looks so soft and like, but heavy. And you're thinking I'm really surprised he's not leaner.
Right.
And then I went, right, so he tans on, just hit a few shots for me. And my jaw dropped to the floor because he was so dense and so hard. But actually, because he was that full, big,
okay,
his muscles looked like they were made out of wood. And that is something you cannot get with a low carb diet. Almost guaranteed to get that level of like pop, hardness and fullness of actually when you hit a shot, things happen. It was like straight across his chest. I was like, what the? I was like, it looks ridiculous. And I always remember it stuck out in my head because I'd never seen anyone like that who, when they hit a shot, something like all that sort of crazy detail were going on.
Yeah.
And as I said, like for me, who'd been doing low carb diets for that period of time, you know, you'd get leaner and leaner and leaner and you get sharper, but there's no pop. And if you've really seen that in real life, when you see good bodybuilders with a lot of muscle, how that happen, like that's the game changer where you go, I want that. And that's, you know, that's the difference. So that would say that's what's happening with these guys there.
Yeah. And it can be really tough because I felt like for the longest time, basically forever, other than the past 2 years, that I would have put myself into category of carb sensitive. Okay, so I would have said like, oh, no, I can't do more than this many carbs because I get fat. Like I was a fat kid. It's not the case. And so what I don't want this to become is me actually saying like, oh, don't do bro dieting, do high carb dieting. That's not what I wanted to bring with this really. It's rather, if you are someone that holds so dear your methodology of dieting or your methodology of training, which we'll get into next, be open to the possibility that there might be a better way.
Yeah. So
for example, I made a post this week. It was last weekend actually. It's just a shot from the Welsh because should have been a BNBF Welsh last weekend. And I had a guy from one of the gyms around here where I have trained before message me and go, first off, and maybe we could speak about this on another podcast. He asks me, do I do diet plans? The answer was no. I'm not a coach just because I've done a bodybuilding show. Hi, Cara.
Did you pass him on to Coach DSL?
I didn't pass him on to anybody. I said, because he's not a bodybuilder. Oh. He's just a guy who wanted some help, but wanted to know. But what I did offer him is some advice. I said, oh, I'm not going to give you a diet plan or anything, but if you just want advice, advice is free. You know, it's like there was a time when bodybuilders would help each other out in the gym, you know, and just kind of say, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? So I offered some advice. And he turned around to me and said, oh my God, I feel like I've been doing it the wrong way forever. He was a bit down by it. It's like, I just feel like I've been wasting my time, been doing everything wrong with everything you're saying. What I've been doing is wrong. And my reply was, it's not what you've been doing is wrong. It's just that maybe this way, it might be a better way for you. You might try it and it might not be. But it's not that what you were doing is wrong and I'm now saying this is the absolute right way. This is the gospel way. It's that try this way because it might be better for you. And I think that if people could employ that kind of mindset rather than holding on to their own methodology like it's a religion, then you might open your mind up to something that you might be able to pick from a new methodology.
I think that, like, with nutrition and training, it very much goes along with what resonates with you and what also you feel like you can get behind. Because I always wanted to know, like, you know, I could never understand, like, when I first started competing, like when I went to Washington that first year and Guy was like, why do you think you need more protein than what Ben Tennyson needs, who's like 50 pounds heavier than you on stage? And I was like a bit puzzled, but it's because no one really explained it to me. And I obviously was missing a trick there. But on the same side, like, yeah, you have to, you know, what has to make sense to you for a start. You have to kind of like believe in that way. But you've also got to, it's got to kind of have some sort of, how should we say, like, you've kind of want to be swayed towards that way. Like, if it fits your macros, you don't have to eat chicken and broccoli. And I don't really like eating chicken and broccoli to get shredded. So that sounds better. For me, it was very much a case of, like, you know, with the training, like I've had clients and stuff who've like stayed with me for just a month. They don't like the fact that I want to train like a bro and do a 5-day split and not do push pull and also eat that certain way. I'd say it's like hard basics, and you know, you can go okay, but like some people, they just can't get on with it. Like they might want to do it, but they're just like, look, you know, my happiness on a day-to-day level is 2 out of 10 when I do this diet. But on if it fits your macros and training push-pull legs, and that's make me a 10 out of 10, then by all means, that is for you for sure. Because no matter how, like, you know, which way I try and dress it up, you don't want to do it that way. Same as that, I couldn't think of anything worse than doing like a push-pull split, and I would have a meltdown every time that I had to try and eat Pop-Tarts and other stuff. I'm not saying that everyone eats Pop-Tarts on it if it fits your macros, but I just can't do it.
You go to though, don't you?
I'll eat more kind of flexibility towards that, like in an off-season have a treat, but I just don't feel good on it. And it's like someone at that end is trying to convince me that I should do it that way. I would have an issue with it. But as you said, I much more sit towards the middle now. And I think if you'd asked me this question 5 years ago, I'd be like, no, there's no shifting me off this end of the spectrum. But from coaching people, you're like, right, well, this is some compromise to the way I do things. And yes, I've written people up push-pull leg programs. You know, they might be doing an extra arm day on the end of that program, or, you know, because I feel they need to address their weak points. And by doing 2 sets of bicep curls a week when you've got crap arms isn't enough, then do you know what I mean? Then that's my rationale behind that. But, you know, as a case, it's like, you know, you can go round and round in circles with it, but as I said, you have to kind of, you're just going to be swayed towards kind of where you want to believe, or where you kind of feel like you can adhere to the best. So I think that's the take home of it. It's like, we're both not saying either end are right or wrong, but you have to do what's going to give you the most happiness. Same as I had a conversation with a guy from Shreds this week, where one of the guys who owns one of the gyms near us, and he just can't be strict in an off season. Like, he can't think of anything worse than, like, he wants to maybe eat out twice a day and maybe have some, you know, Uncle Ben's packet rice and some packet chicken from the co-op or whatever, but he just can't get his brain into wanting to prep meals and do that kind of stuff in off season, because he just does not enjoy it. But he can put the switch down when it comes to prep. I'm like, right, okay, well, there's compromise have to be made, but like his happiness on a day-to-day level, as it feels like he's on prep all the time, he'd just rather not do it. So that's his compromise. And I'm not saying I would do that, but, you know, you have to then open up and go, right, okay, if I'm maybe going to help this guy or give him some advice, it's like, yes, you have to find what works for you and where you're going to be the happiest doing, you know, your hobby every day. Because in the day, it's your, you know, okay, it's more than a hobby, but you know, I mean, you've got to go where you're happy as well. So as much as I said, let's be like being open to stuff, though. Well,
then that's, well, you know what, that's a good example then, because the converse is true for you in that. Well, I asked you, might have been a couple of years ago now. Have you ever considered doing a lean off season? Have you ever considered not? Have you ever considered not getting so heavy in the off season? And you said that you did once, and that it was the hardest prep you ever did. Because, and we're kind of going over old ground again now, and actually this brings into why I'm not doing the harsh mini cut right now, is because for us, there's a time to flick a switch, and the way we do it like this means that when it's time to diet, we can flip that switch. Now, if the way that you do it better for you is that actually you say super strict, and where me and you might consider, it's not that good actually, that you're not really pushing some food, and you're a bit worried about, I really want to keep my abs in the off season, so that might not be the best way. But if that's the way that you've found, I guess, if that's the way that you think is best for you, fine. But be open to the fact that there might be a better way. I'm open to the fact that getting fat might not be the way forward for me. It's just that I've not seen anything to prove otherwise as of yet. I've improved every time I get on stage. I've seen you improve every time you get on stage. So it's don't have an answer. The last thing I'll say on it before I'd like to hear what you think about training specifically is it maybe explains what I'm trying to get at. Is Patrick Tuer in that podcast asks Fuad why he thinks he should have high protein. Fuad kind of goes around in circles and circles and starts to just say, well, maybe I just think that the amino acids actually, I know you don't store them, and I know that they actually don't help me push the weights, and he keeps answering his own, like Patrick's question really with, there's no reason why I'm doing this thing.
You're stuck with it, yeah.
I'm stuck with it.
Yeah.
And it kind of churns it out of him to say really that it's kind of just not what you should be doing. So I don't want it to be righteous or anything either way, but just there might be a better way. Whatever you're doing, there might be a better way.
And I think, just as last point to touch on the nutrition, I think whatever you do, the worst thing you can do that I've maybe come across now with people maybe not wanting to get fat in the off season is massively coasting. People are actually like missing meals and deliberately boiling calories to not be fat.
Not going 5 guys and eating a steak and rice, no?
No, definitely not that. No, but like just coasting, as in like just really, I'm more worried about being fat than I am making about progress. And then when it comes down to the line, it's like, right, well, I really probably should have focused more on my training, and then like maybe doing a bit of cardio if I was that worried about it, but actually purposely going back to eating 3 meals a day because you can or eating like more salads and stuff because you find that would basically just keep you a bit lighter on the scale, but it's not helping your training performance, and it's not helping your overall body composition because you're getting lighter but not really any leaner. You're just basically not as, you haven't got as much glycogen in the muscle, you haven't, so it's all those things. So the most important thing is to make progress, don't coast, and be open to a little bit of this and a little bit of that, for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure we covered a lot of it then, because I think they're one and the same, but talk to me about why you think people are so in one camp and in the other camp about training and different training methodologies. We'll probably hash the same things out about nutrition, but maybe there's some things about training that might be bespoke to it.
Well, I think obviously the big divide obviously is the bro split versus push pull legs versus maybe high volume, low volume, and how much is too much, that whole scenario. So that's basically that. So why people are attached to that? I would say that there tends to be a good bit of traction on what's popular, for sure. Obviously hats off to people like JP, who has basically almost formed like a bit of a, not so much a cult, but really like a massive following, because his methodologies of training that obviously has got some, great results in muscle building, right? But it tends to be people who follow that way of training, and JP has said it himself. So I won't butcher this, but basically, he tried to do the Milos Sarcev giant sets.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated it and could not continue to coach with Milos doing that type of training, but just did the nutrition with him. And Milos was like, no problem. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think you have to be open to, what works for you. But I would say that, so some of that's like popularity, what's popular.
Social media plays a big part in that, I think, because it's what you see all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so getting good at maybe like certain movements and things like that, that's just like the way we're training, I guess, with that. And as I said, I really hope people don't watch these kind of things with me and you and feel like it's like a hate campaign one way or the other, because really we are very much bro split. And I've tried push-pull legs and I didn't like it. And it's the same sort of thing as the JP thing. He's trained with Milos and he just hated doing it. And it's like, I'd be the same for me. I just find that I can't recover from a push-pull legs. So for me, the reason why I'm attached to maybe a bro split is because I can't recover from the training and train with the amount of intensity that I can from any other way of training. Now, whether if I was to maybe do push-pull legs and might take me a long time to get adapted to training with the amount of volume that I do and then doing everything twice a week, maybe, I might be able to do that down the line. But I would definitely say that I just enjoy training like a bro split, having like a whole session just on chest and a whole session just on shoulders. As opposed to the flip side, people couldn't feel anything more boring than just doing an hour on chest.
Right. I wasn't training with us, have they?
Try 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's that. I think I've seen people post that up before. A couple of people would say I couldn't think of anything worse than doing like an upper body session of just chest.
Right.
You know
what? I think I've realised what one of the things might be. It's about this kind of new outwork thing. Doing things a certain way. I'm working hard and the hardest worker in the room and all that kind of stuff.
I've got that. So. Oh,
sorry.
I'm gonna wear it next week, 100%. Because The Rock, only because The Rock, not for any other reason.
Well, you will be officially the hardest worker in the room that you're currently in.
Yeah.
No, what I'm getting at is I think certain things, certain things. So okay, push-pull legs kind of learns to that group of people, that social media kind of gathering, like you mentioned, the people that followed someone like JP because that's the kind of way. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but it's the way he kind of approaches things. And then there's me and you that watch Battle of the Olympia on Sunday mornings, and we like watching Jay do 3 sets of 10 on chest and stuff like that, and it's cool. It gets a wicked pump. But I think also where training's a little bit different with nutrition is you kind of have to you definitely have to learn what actually works for you and what you need. So I could do push-pull legs and I might get a bigger back and bigger legs and bigger chest, but I'm still going to have shit arms. I might want to. I might really enjoy doing push-pull legs actually because I can row a lot and I can squat a lot and I can press a lot and all that fun stuff, and then be like, I'll do less arms. That's not going to make me a better bodybuilder. Now, if you're a bodybuilder that maybe your body parts that are good are, let's say, arms. Let's say you're a guy who's just got great arms all the time but needs to bring up his back and legs. Then actually, maybe push-pull legs is what you need to do and not the bro split. So I think there's a level of individual requirement that's apparent in training, less so in nutrition. I think that you can find the better way in nutrition, and everyone really certainly within natural bodybuilding would end up circling around the one way that will get you looking the way you need to. But with training, I think it's so bespoke. You know, and if you're someone that can train with a lot of volume and finds that way of doing it, or someone that can train with a lot of weight and intensity, all that it actually comes down to really is just training hard. I sent you that, Patrick, to SST breakdown this week, and you said, and actually when I mentioned it, you went, "Isn't that the guy that likes to do cluster sets?" And I thought that was funny because you're right. What he's developed is also basically what John Meadows calls a cluster set, which is also what Scott Stevenson calls a muscle round. It's all the same. What they're getting at is train with purpose and intensity and train hard. So whether that's doing 2 hours of chest on all the bench presses,
yeah,
or whether that's doing it in a push-pull legs fashion another way, it's achieving the same thing. It's just bespoke to the individual.
I think what people have to really consider as well is there's two things with training. That the first one is what is going to get you a result, and two, what you're actually going to enjoy doing. Because, as I said, you've got that argument again that people who do push-pull legs, like, they couldn't think of anything worse doing the bro split, and I'm, the other way around as well. I think I don't really want to do. I want to do legs twice a week. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I can't walk for 5 days. So imagine trying to do it twice. But with all the kind of jokes aside, as I've probably mentioned before, it's really important that you enjoy your training.
Yeah.
Because if you are going to the gym and like I've had with clients who just basically like, I'm really sorry, this isn't going to work out. And I'm just like, okay, fair enough. Because then it's like, I can't even take it personally, because it's just like, for whatever reason, they don't like training like that. They don't like doing them like super hard sets or that amount of volume like that way. Not that the fact that push pulls don't, but they just, for whatever reason, the way I designed the training program was just like, that's not for me. That's a bit too much. And it's like, you've got to want to go into the gym and like walk out and like look forward to training. So if that means that you training and sticking with your, as I said, things that you're open to, as I said, it might be that you have to be open to trying new things, like trying to do, like I say, like a designated arm day on a push-pull legs because you've got bad rubbish arms.
Yeah.
That's something that you're going to have to consider. Like, it's probably anyone who does push-pull legs, surely, I guess, like, arms is like just the annoying tag on, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, that's how I would see it. And if I was to try and program something push-pull legs, then I would struggle to give arms the attention they require. But likewise, I can see the converse and say, let's say you really need to bring up your hamstrings. Let's say you've got the shittest hamstrings of all time but your quads are okay. Perhaps a bro split isn't what you need to be doing, because does that mean you're going to be hammering legs once a week? And unless if you're constantly putting hamstrings at the end as an afterthought, then the bro split's not good for you.
100%.
You know, it's the same sort of thing. You know, or even if it's not like that, and it's just that you've got one body part and that hitting it once a week isn't enough frequency for you, then that's where push-pull legs comes in, and that's what I hope people will get from listening to this, is that our preferred way is bro. But if what you need to do for improving your physique is push-pull legs, then that's great, do that. But do not hold on to your training methodology, your nutritional methodology, or anything else like it's a religion, and like you couldn't even conceive doing something else unless you've tried it already. You know, you say that you couldn't think of doing anything other than a bro split, but that's because you've tried push-pull legs, you've tried doing these things. I've done the same. I've done keto, I've done low carb, and now doing high carb. That's the way for me. And the last thing I'd say on that is that be careful that it's not just about looking like you're doing a certain thing as well. So you mentioned about popularity. It's popular now to say I'm training push today. It's popular to say, you know, pull workout, all this, that, and the other. Likewise, it might be great to put a whole workout of just training chest and getting a wicked pump and looking really good from that. Make sure that that's not the reason why you're picking a training methodology, so that it looks like you're doing something beneficial when you're not.
Yeah, I agree with that. it's a hard thing to kind of, as I said, like break down and kind of look at where you're like, okay, like this way's better, this way's, you know, the way to go, without kind of feeling like you're not bashing the other team. It's just that, as I said, you're just kind of like, well, as I said, like maybe I haven't tried push-pull legs for long enough, but it's like, for me, it's a case of it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
The moment I stop making progress and stop, you know, improving from season to season, it's the time where I might go, all right, well, you need to spend more time. Your legs have got smaller and your body's made loads of progress. You're going to have to do legs twice a week, you know? So maybe there's that to it as well. And I said, I think the biggest pet peeve for me was seeing people come back year after year, or as I said, like a guy who goes to our gym and he does push-pull legs, and he's got phenomenal legs and a very average upper body. Why is he doing legs twice a week? Why is he not doing 2 back workouts a week?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like that just makes no sense to me. That is clearly someone who's stuck in his own way because legs is hardcore twice a week.
Right.
He's not open to like, okay, like I spent probably best part of 3 years doing back twice a week.
Right.
And obviously I had like severe tendonitis in both my elbows, but like I was just like, I need to do back twice a week because it's not getting any better.
I would love to be the guy that goes in and trains legs twice a week. I've done it. I don't need to do it. You know, I don't need to. There's parts of me back that I would like to bring up and make better, significantly better, but not enough that I need to be doing it twice a week. You could argue that with where my physique is right now and the amount of time that I'm willing to take off in between shows, that I should be training 3 times a week, biceps, triceps, and then maybe arms. You know, and okay, that's far-fetched, but I've been there and I've not addressed weak points because of a way that I like to train. I've gone into the gym to train arms and come out after training legs because I enjoy it, because it's hardcore and it makes me feel better that I'm doing it. So I've been there, I've done that. But you have to ask yourself, if you're serious about making progress, then that's that you need to address. Are you training for the betterment of your physique?
Yeah.
Or are you training for show? Was it again? Shout out to Fuad Abiyad for content on this podcast. But one of his little taglines is, well,
you always manage to find someone each week, J.M. Blakely or Patrick Tour this week. Who do you usually like? Who's your usual go-to?
Dusty and Ron from It's Just Bodybuilding. As the first, we're nearly gonna go a whole podcast without talking about Dusty and Ron. Then we didn't. But one of Fuad's little sayings is train like nobody's watching. You know, and okay, we like to take a post-workout picture and sometimes film some sets and stuff, and that's cool. But what I took from that is I wouldn't want anyone to watch me train arms because it would be super boring. I'm currently in the shape, as Johnson describes, as where my delts are bleeding into my arms. Like there is no I mean, with poor arms at the best of times, there's not a lot of definition between them muscles as is. So as soon as you
please.
What?
Picture, please.
This Natty Muscle Radio does Art Attack. I can't draw, by the way.
A round head first with optimal back hair to start. Then I need a small neck, traps, and then the sausage and egg McMuffins.
Is this the guy who's got delts bleeding into?
Yeah. Kind of shape that they look like.
She's really bad.
I reckon I need to bring a notebook and pen next time because I think mine would be pretty good.
So this is going to be really bad, but I'm going to extenuate just how big someone's arms, and without the sort of shape.
Is it like going to be my transformation picture, that the video that I've sent you all the time?
A little bit.
Yeah, be prepared for that one for the future because that one is going to be jokes this year. Sure.
Okay, I mean, I've got to show you now. It's kind of like something out of a horror movie, but basically I'm highlighting that there's no definition here.
Wasn't bad. I thought it was going to look more sausage-like.
Sorry, yeah.
You turned me into more of a sausage. All right, we'll leave a picture of a notebook and pen. Maybe even an optimal whiteboard next week.
Whoa, okay. All right. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, yeah. So, I guess as a conclusion, I guess then really is that we are open to other training methodologies, but you've got to do what you like doing diet, nutrition-wise. I guess what makes you happiest, really.
Maybe, or maybe you've got to decide, do you want to do what makes you happy?
Yep.
Or do you want to do what makes you win?
Yes.
Be the best.
Yes.
On a serious note, like, do you want to do what looks sick and what looks cool in the gym? Do you want to keep putting your push-pull workouts on, or do you want to keep putting your bro workouts on that aren't helping you? Do you know you need to bring up your arms and you're doing push-pull and you still got shit arms? You need to bring up your legs, but you're doing them once a week and your hamstrings a week because you're doing bro. Do you want to keep doing that and telling everybody how good it is and how much you're improving and you're actually not because everyone can see the pictures? Or do you want to actually have a little word and say, actually, I'm going to change the way I do it and not hold on to this methodology like a religion?
Indeed. I think that's perfect.
All right. Wicked.
For being so good at podcasts.
Thanks. Thanks for being so good at podcasts, everybody.
I'm not sure if you noticed this week, finishing the podcast, did you see that I've got my other gasp jumper on today?
If we don't...
Second grey gasp jumper of the day.
Sponsored by the Alabama Crimson Tide for anybody that cares about college football.
Optimal V-neck as well. So.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, with optimal chest. If we don't get sponsored by Gasp after that picture today, pretty disappointed. So perhaps we can clip this up and tag at Gasp official. Michael Johansson, actually, the owner of Gasp. What about that for a name drop?
Oh, yeah. Cheers, Michael.
Cheers, Mike. Big M dog. And if you don't give us a sponsorship with that epic picture, where I don't know if you mentioned, I don't know if anyone's seen it, go to the Natty Muscle Radio Instagram or Bob Waterhouse Instagram or Prodigy's Instagram or my Instagram and see how I angle everybody. Don't know if I mentioned that. And if you want to even tag and comment to the Gasp should sponsor us, then please go ahead.
Yes, agreed. Always holding out for that Gasp sponsorship.
Indeed. Right, come on then, let's go. All right, Natty Muscle Radio.
You didn't say with Natty Muscle Radio. There's always another level.
There is. Bye.
See ya.